wants to remake Canada in his own vision, in his own blind vision, just as his father did, in the 1960s and 70s. So quite frankly, I think, as I said, we should be cautious. But the fact that he is trying to do this, or to think that there is some legitimacy to installing these policies, even though, through the phone speak, they didn't come out, it's pretty cynical, I would say. And I don't think there's much to worry about. But, to do this without an election, to do this without a mandate would be deeply cynical. Probably the most cynical thing you can do as a prime minister. Guys, hello, how are we? Roberto, how you doing?
Dude, I'm doing pretty good. And I got to say, look, this is a spicy week, and I'm actually pretty excited to get into it. I just kind of want to jump right into it because I feel like we have a lot to talk about. There was a lot of little stuff that happened throughout the week, and it is now it's going to culminate in a nice, thick episode. We have a big, nice loaf in front of us to start digging into. So we want to start with Nico. You want to lead the first topic, and it's, of course, about our least favorite country, China.
Yeah. Well, good introduction, Bobby. Hello, everyone. We're talking about China yet again. My God, it keeps going on and on. I think after this pandemic, we're beginning to see a sort of revitalization of a Cold War scenario where you have the West and all that's good in the world confronting pretty much the most basic form of evil, a dictatorship, a communist dictatorship at that. So what happened this week is that Justin Trudeau, our prime minister, and some of his liberals, I suppose most of them actually in this case, voted against a motion that would firstly force a decision over Huawei, the Chinese telecom giant, state-owned, of course. We know, for instance, that Huawei steals Canadian technology. We know that they have infiltrated our democracy and that they use Huawei to infiltrate our democracy. They steal information from private citizens. And secondly, it would have forced the government to come up with a plan like Australia has already done to confront Chinese infiltration. Now, this is obviously really, really necessary. It was brought forward by the Conservative MP, Michael Chong, who's a really, really nice bloke. And it was so necessary, and it was so obviously the right thing to do. And yet Trudeau voted against it, largely, I think, because he's a coward. I mean, that's the only reasonable explanation, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. And this is the pretty interesting thing about this. So you did mention that I think there was 3 Liberal MPs who actually did vote for the motion. I can't remember 2 of them, and I should have looked this up before, but one of them was Wayne Easter, who's the chair of the Finance Committee, which I found pretty interesting. At least it shows some sort of backbone, some sort of character within the Liberal Party, that they're not going to just kowtow to whatever the Liberals want to do. Secondly, it is very important to note, and I think totally worth mentioning, that Canada is now the last, and has been since I think June or July, the last of the Five Eyes countries that has not, I believe, just flat out banned or put heavy regulations on Huawei technology in their countries. The Five Eyes, of course, are the United States, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada, which all share kind of the same security and information, that kind of stuff, like CIA stuff, high level stuff that I don't know much about. But it was really interesting to see that Justin Trudeau, and like you said, very cowardly, just voted against proposing a plan. I mean, it's been forever. It's been months. And he's now showing on a world stage that he is ready to just bend over to China. And it's really humiliating.
Yeah. Well, over the past few weeks, Roberto and I have actually praised Justin Trudeau and the Liberal Party for standing up to the Chinese regime. We thought, finally, we've clearly had a watershed moment. They've clearly realised that this isn't a sustainable policy to uphold. We have to start condemning China. So they condemned their coercive diplomacy. They, came out and said that, we need to confront them. It's unacceptable. And we were very, very pleased about that. The Hong Kong thing as well. But then all of a sudden, and I don't actually know why. I mean, I have theories, but I couldn't tell you why with any, facts or vigor behind it. And it doesn't make sense, because if you were to ask the general Canadian public, it's not as though anyone believes particularly strongly that Huawei must remain in Canada. What is he worried about? He's not worried about votes here, clearly. Like, if you poll the Canadian public, there is a very clear understanding that the majority of Canadians distrust China, believes that we should do more to confront China, and believes, most importantly, that Huawei, the telecom giant, shouldn't be in Canada. So
Yeah.
from just a clearly democratic perspective, there is no reason why Trudeau and the Liberal Party should have voted against this. I guess the reason why they voted against this, and this is my theory, is that it would have forced them into doing something, making some action. And that's what Justin Trudeau, I think, fears most. He is a fence sitter. He is always on the fence. He must be very, very sore. I don't know how he manages to do it. I mean, I'm pretty annoyed at this. Roberto, where do you stand?
Yeah, absolutely. My theory is basically, I'm going to say pretty much the same as yours. It sounds like Trudeau is, I'm going to say he's basically afraid, or at least I would, honestly, the best case scenario is that he's afraid of China and just doesn't want to step on their toes. It seems like the other scenario is that he's in their pocket and is going to let them colonize us, which is obviously much worse. And there's no evidence to that, unfortunately. Another thing that makes me think that he's afraid, or not really afraid, but let me explain what happened. So today, I think China's one of these Chinese ambassadors said to the Five Eyes that, hey, you guys better be careful when you mess with us, because we're going to pluck out your eyes. And, I have a feeling that probably sounded cooler in Chinese. That maybe it didn't.
Really tragic, doesn't it? Totally sad. Yeah.
It didn't. It's one of those things. I think it's a language thing, right? Where in Chinese is probably much more impactful than just like, hey, watch out, or we're gonna pluck out your eyes.
This is the second most powerful country on earth. Presumably, there's one person in China who can say to whoever crafted that message that no, this won't go well. This doesn't make sense. It was awful. It was such a terrible statement. They attempted to do, again, coercive diplomacy is a coin of phrase. To repeat Trudeau's phrase anyway. And it fell flat solely because they just couldn't get English sorted. So,
look, it's not the easiest language to bounce English and Chinese from. Chinese is really weird. I mean, I have a producer, James, speaks a little Chinese, and it's very interesting to hear how it translates directly. But and then they said this line, which is another awful one, and this one's probably worse. They said, "We don't care if you have 5 eyes or 10 eyes."
Yeah, awful.
Which is just what we're gonna add 5 more countries to the Five Eyes. It doesn't, like, who would we even add?
I mean, this makes a lot of sense.
Ireland.
When you look, and why would we ever do that? But this makes a lot of sense when you look at China's foreign minister. I mean, the foreign ministry, they attempt to look really tough, but then you look who's running it, and perhaps producer James can put a picture of their foreign minister who's designing their sort of neo-colonial policies. He's a wimpy, impish man. He looks like the kid at the back of a math class who you bully, who sort of
Why a math class?
No particular reason. It's just, close as high school reference. And so, I mean, it all makes sense why they're so nerdy. They're never going to be particularly intimidating when crafting messages in the English language. Thank God. At least we have something on them.
Yeah, it's true. And, this actually does get to a real point, is that China, because they're not intimidating, I think, in the same way the Soviets were. Obviously, I wasn't alive during the Cold War. But I feel like the Soviets, you would play them in hockey and they would kick your ass a lot of the time. And they were physically strong and scary. But they had they had no soft power. And that's really what China has, where they're able to throw around weight in these weird kind of silent, discreet ways that nobody really picks up on until it's too late. And it seems like because Justin Trudeau is too afraid to actually make a decision that could potentially, I don't even know what the debate is here. Like you were saying, why doesn't Justin Trudeau just come out and say, no, we're not going to have Huawei technology? It's not like it would be controversial. It's not like 4 of the Five Eyes allies haven't already done. All 4 of the other ones have already done it. Yeah. So it makes me suspicious. It makes me kind of fearful. Because I don't want a bunch of Huawei 5G technology scrambling my DNA. I'm just going to say it. Joke.
Jake, take it out of yourself.
Joke alert. Anyway, Nico, do you have anything else to add?
No, I think that's it. Let's move swiftly on.
We're going to get new transitions, and we saw your comments. We just have to get our lazy producer James to actually finish them. It's a nightmare getting that guy to do anything.
Yeah. We're not lying to you when we said he told us that there'd be new transitions. I was incredibly upset when I found out that there wouldn't be. But next week, we're going to put his feet to the fire, and you're going to see, Michelle Rempel-Garner in that leather jacket, Christia Freeland,
thing.
you know, with you know, shrieking or something as she usually does. It's going to be fantastic. You're going to love it.
It's going to be great. Anyway, we're moving on to a different kind of segment. I have a few things I want to talk about. Like I said, there's a lot of little things that happened this week that I'm interested in. One was one of my favorite slip-ups. It's a slip-up that's just a hot mic, basically. During a vote in the House of Commons, a Liberal minister accidentally revealed how much she maybe makes. So let's roll that clip really quickly.
Miss Wilson-Raybould.
The question they're gonna ask me, how much do I make now? Like $250?
I'm sorry, Miss Raybould.
Embarrassing, dude.
Yeah, not good. Not good. And firstly, my God, what a large amount of money for just such a small amount of work. I mean, here's the thing that really irritates me about Liberal ministers is that they're so weak-willed, they're so lily-livered that they usually aren't particularly intelligent. Because if you join the Liberal Party in this day and age, you're essentially signing up to Justin Trudeau's cult of personality, and you have to be one of his disciples. So what you get is this flock of quite simple people who don't deserve to be making $40,000, let alone $250,000, however much it was. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. It was $250,000, and it was during. She interrupted Jody Wilson-Raybould on her turn to vote, and you just see her asking, "How much do I make? $250,000." Now, I asked a friend of mine that works in the office. I didn't really ask. I just said, you know, why the hell do these people make so much? And of course, he said, well, you know, that it's like an NBA referee. You have to pay them really well so that they don't take on any bribes or any other kind of extra curriculars that could line their pockets. And to that I say, why don't we simply just ban corruption? Moving on, I think, to the next video we have here is a quick We Charity update, and this one's from Pierre Poilievre. He outlined he was giving updates to the We Charity scandal and specifically the filibusters that have been happening, and he proposed a solution. He said, all right, look, you have all these blacked out documents because you said there's cabinet secrets. Why don't we just give them to the law clerk, a third party who is impartial, and let him decide? And when he was outlining what what they were talking about in the filibuster, because they said something like 300,000 words or 30,000 words, an insane amount over like 12 hours, right? To just stop this from coming out. So one of the things that actually, let's just play the clip. I don't even have to read.
This government has paralyzed the Finance Committee in order to cover up the We documents. You remember those 1,000 pages of documents? We simply asked that they be released without black ink all over them. Well, in order to avoid doing that, Liberals have begun to give speech after speech, almost 30 hours of speeches, 171,000 words spoken, paralyzing the committee for 5 weeks. And these speeches, what are they about? Are they about the people who are suffering because their businesses are closed or their jobs have been shut down? No, they're speeches about the Christian Bible, the Jewish Torah, the Islamic, ancient Islamic texts, the Quran. They've given speeches about Greek philosophers. They even gave a speech about the cartoon character Pokeroo. Imagine you're a small business owner. You turn on television to find out what the Finance Committee is doing to save your business, and you see a Liberal MP giving an extensive speech about the cartoon character Pokeroo in order to run down the clock so that no one can find out what's behind the black ink on those We documents. That's
Pierre Poilievre, and I can't find this clip anywhere, saying that a Liberal minister gave a speech about Pokeroo. Pokeroo, for those who aren't familiar, is a TV Ontario kangaroo with polka dots on him. Pierre Poilievre said he is a cartoon kangaroo. And here's a clip of a CBC pundit correcting Pierre Poilievre, fact-checking him, because Pokeroo isn't a cartoon. He's a live action figure.
These meetings go on for days and days and days because there's speech after speech after speech. Silly ones sometimes. He was talking about Pokeroo there. I have to say, I grew up in Ontario in the early 80s. I have to fact check him slightly. Pokeroo, not a cartoon. It's actually a live action character in a suit. Facts are important. I digress.
And that's the thing. If it was some private corporation, I wouldn't mind. but this is coming out of your tax dollars, you know? I pay these journalists to spend their day deciding whether this is an action figure or a cartoon, you know?
Nico, it's not an action figure and it's not a cartoon. It's a live action kangaroo with polka dots. I don't know how much clearer I have to be about that. Now, obviously, it's taking on a joking tone, but listen, lady, you know what he meant. We really have to fact check Pierre Poilievre on this. And our last clip, which is less funny, but I wanted to get, I feel like we'd get roasted to infinity if we did not bring this up this week. Yeah. And it's the Great Reset. Now, the Great Reset, there's a lot of buzz online about a video from September, or sometime in the summer, that Justin Trudeau appeared in some sort of UN council where he was basically announcing that he was giving $400 million to foreign aid for whatever countries. And he had used a phrase that was getting a lot of attention lately, which was basically the Great Reset. Now, the Great Reset, if you're not familiar, is a term that's been, I believe, basically coined, or at least was kickstarted by the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum is this big kind of conglomerate made basically for when politicians, when they retire, that they have something to do after. It's based in Switzerland. It's based in like Geneva, Switzerland. And basically their whole thing is basically just economic initiatives. Yeah. The problem that people have with this is that it's none of Justin Trudeau's business to recreate Canada in some sort of reset. Let's show that clip really quick.
Canada believes that a strong, coordinated response across the world and across sectors is essential. This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to accelerate our pre-pandemic efforts to reimagine economic systems that actually address global challenges like extreme poverty, inequality, and climate change.
All right, Nico. That sounded kind of bad, especially if you're conspiracy-minded like myself. He got a lot of shit for this, a lot. So okay. What's your opinion on this?
I think, you know, a lot of tweets have been sent, a lot of ink has been spilled about this video. I think we should be cautious. But what it does show is that the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, is willing to exploit a pandemic for the sake of creating something which is purely ideological. You know, he wants to remake Canada in his own vision, in his own blind vision, just as his father did, you know, in the 1960s and 70s. So quite frankly, you know, I think, as I said, we should be cautious. But the fact that he is trying to do this, or the think that there is some legitimacy to installing these policies, even though, you know, through the phone speak, they didn't come out, it is pretty cynical, I would say. And I don't think there's much to worry about. But, you know, to do this without an election, to do this without a mandate would be deeply cynical. You know, probably the most cynical thing you can do as a Prime Minister. And I don't think it's going to happen. I think, you know, Tucker Carlson slayed him for it. But we should probably just focus on the bigger issues. What do you think, Bobby?
Well, you know, Nico, you know me pretty well. You know I'm a pretty conspiracy-minded guy, but I do tend to agree. I don't know if this is the biggest thing in the world, but we absolutely need to be vigilant of it and keep a close ear to what's going to happen next.
Aware.
It's definitely
what they're doing, you know.
yeah, exactly. Keep an eye on it, and if you are really interested in letting your voice be heard in this regard, Pierre Poilievre, the MP for Carleton, our favorite MP probably, launched a petition online saying something along the lines of "Stop the Great Socialist Reset." I haven't checked how many signatures it's gotten. I would imagine it's doing pretty well.
Hey, you know what I noticed? You know, I love Pierre Poilievre. I love him to bits. I think he's wonderful. But I did see him call Italy socialist the other day. Now,
yeah, I saw that too.
I think that's a bit weird because, you know, say what you will about Italians. Italians, you know, they're not great at paying taxes sometimes. You know, they're not brilliant when it comes to the economy, and I suppose they do have quite a strong welfare state. But right now, they're being run by a guy who is further to the right of, you know, a 90 degrees angle. You know, it is such. They're so right wing. They're so clearly not socialistic. I don't know where he got it from. I suppose compared to Pierre Poilievre, they might be a bit socialist. But, you know, it was a bit of a mistake. I think.
Really weird clip. And actually, I know exactly where this is, so we can just play the clip right now.
The second highest unemployment in the G7. Only socialist Italy has a higher unemployment rate.
So that's Pierre Poilievre talking about I believe Canada, he was saying, had the most debt out of any country in the G20 besides socialist Italy. I'm just going to go ahead and say this. I know plenty of Italians. One of my good friends is Italians. But you got to say, Italy never has stopped being a little fascist. I don't know. A little fascist. Like, there was a time that they went crazy, right? Everyone knows what we're talking about. Associating rubbing elbows with a few pretty shady characters. Worse than shady. Holocaust people.
Yeah.
They've gone a little crazy, but they've never really...
I mean, from literally Julius Caesar all the way to Salvini, they've always been a little bit dodgy.
A little fascist. Look, I love Italians. Like I said, I have a very good friend. I've had 3 or 4 very close friends in my life that were all Italian, and they were all named Anthony, and that's not a joke.
Welcome back, viewers. My God, this has been a fast-paced episode. Tell us what you think about the video formatting, by the way. I know it's quite fast-paced, but I think it's good. It's like a weekly recap. Maybe every week we can sort of go through, bring up the important videos of what's happened. One last thing before I enter the segment. Have you seen Jagmeet Singh's most recent TikTok? I think, you know, this is worthy of another video. Let's play it quickly.
Okay, okay, Jagmeet Singh's TikTok. I was looking through it earlier today, and I was going to do a segment on it. I was thinking about it. Jagmeet Singh's entire TikTok is one of the cringiest things I've ever seen in my life. And I hate the word cringe. I think it's overused, but I literally, I cringed. I felt my face doing that thing that, you know, and look, I don't know if you've gone through it yourself. The guy has done 3 dreams TikToks. Like, you know, the dream TikTok of the guy on the longboard drinking the cranberry juice to Dreams by Fleetwood Mac. Jagmeet Singh has done that 3 times.
Well, can I tell you why? It's because Jagmeet Singh thinks a good TikTok, and I've never been on TikTok because I don't want to give my data to China, but he thinks a good TikTok, having a solid TikTok, is a substitute for having a proper platform and ideology. And
right.
as it's worked out so far, his party has never been in deeper shit. So, so you know, thank God this guy is going to be gone the next election.
One of his TikToks. Sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
We're having a little bit of internet issues, but one of his TikToks was him standing outside Parliament, in Ottawa, and it's him like looking kind of like tough, and he always does this thing where he like fixes his mustache, like he grabs it and like twirls it. It's so annoying to watch, but he did this kind of like fighting thing, like, oh, I'm here to fight for you, like I'm so happy I get to fight for Canadians. And it's like, dude, you're getting your ass kicked. The NDP has never been in a worse state in a long time, probably not since like the first decade of its foundation.
Yeah. I mean, do you remember after the blackface incident, and he came out and sort of said, you know, I used to fight all the time. I used to fight kids all the time, you know, not when he was an adult, obviously. He wasn't just punching kids as a leader of the NDP. But when he was a teenager, you know, someone would say something mean to him and he'd fight them. Fair enough. Yeah. But, I mean, give it a rest. You don't have to endlessly talk about how fucking big you are and strong. So I've been swearing a lot this episode. But Jagmeet Singh really makes me angry.
Yeah, maybe some of those fights gave him some brain damage, dude. I have no idea. He seems to stutter and slur more than I do this episode. But anyway, let's move on because I feel like this episode's getting a little long. Yes, it is, definitely. Let's talk about our last topic really quickly about Nico. Why don't you go ahead and lead us through?
I'm going to do a sort of a very, very quick speed run of this issue because I don't think it's hugely important, but I think it reveals how biased the Canadian media is. There's a staffer in Ottawa. Her name's Anna Poilievre. Anna Poilievre is what she goes by, I think, normally. As it sounds, she's Pierre Poilievre's wife. Now, here's the important thing. Pierre Poilievre and Anna met on Parliament Hill. She was a staffer from 2008 up until 2017, which is when she met Pierre Poilievre. And, you know, she was experienced. She's worked in multiple offices. She works currently in Michael Cooper's office, who is quite a cool MP, actually. I quite like Michael Cooper. So anyway, that's the background. A CTV and a CBC journalist came out and basically made a false equivalency. Do you remember that story we talked about? I think it was a few weeks ago where there was a Liberal MP who paid a family member to be on her staff. So that's totally against the rules. And these journalists came out and said, well, hold on a minute, look at what you're doing, and asked them 2 separate questions about it. I mean, this is so blatantly wrong. You know, I don't know, I tend to think the press in Canada is biased, but sometimes, you know, I play to the gallery a little bit. I don't think they're totally biased. I think they try somewhat to be non-partisan, but then I see clips like this, and it's so obvious that what they're doing is just trying to throw, quite frankly, a very lovely woman under the bus. So I was pretty annoyed by that, but, you know, what can you do, eh, Bobby?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like, look, if there has to be a purge of this kind of nepotism, it should happen. But this was not the right target. This was a total
It just wasn't.
This wasn't nepotism. This was a total misfire. This was someone who had a job, got married, and that's it. That's really it. It's almost like they want them to step down. It's almost like they want less women to work.
Continue to work. Is that what, you know, that's journalists are referring to? And it's always the same type of person. It's always, I'm sorry girls, but it's always a woman who asks these type of questions. They always look kind of weird. I hate to say it. They're always from Toronto and grew up in, like, you know, somewhere like, you know, small town Ontario, and then left to go to Toronto. Nothing wrong. Yeah, I'm from small town Ontario. And they always went to universities like Ryerson, and they are just the most irritating breed. And quite frankly, the CBC employs so many of these people. You know, isn't there just a surplus to requirements? Is this why Canadian media is so bad? Because we just employ Karens in every single place? It's getting kind of tedious.
It is getting kind of tedious. It is definitely something that we need to look into. Look, I'm just going to come out and say it. Less women working.
We're joking.
Joke.
We're joking.
I feel like I have to, every time I make a joke, I have to make sure I get it out of the way, or else I'll get canceled or some shit. Wow, what a packed episode. I feel like this one's going to be a pretty long one with a lot of topics. It's going to be hard to pick a title for this one. But Nico, I think we got through it pretty smoothly. That seemed like it was a pretty decent episode.
Yeah, it went really well. I kind of like the formatting. It's gone by very quickly. I didn't realise how long it was. I hope you guys stuck till the end, because I certainly didn't. But no, I love it. I like the format. Let us know what you think. As ever, leave a comment. I read them all. Leave an email, bobbyandnico@gmail.com. Let's get that up on the screen. And remember to like and subscribe. That's, you know, it's an enormous favour for us. We love making these. Help us keep doing it. And I hope you have a really, really good week.
Yeah, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.